So this point that I'm going to be calling, okay, this is our Dawah clinic. I'm going to name the point, and then I'm going to maybe give a story or a quick explanation, okay? So the first point is this. Every moment is Dawah. Every moment, okay? It's like you're not going out the house like I'm coming ready for Dawah. You got to be ready. You got to stay ready. You got to be prepared, okay? I'll give you an example. One day, I told you the story in the past. I'm going to give you a very short version of it, okay? I was at a Philly cheesesteak shop. I just went in. That's it. I'm just being me. And I had a nice jacket on. And the brother who was working the register, he was like, yo, basically, I'm going to give you a quick version, right? Basically, that's a dope jacket. Wow, mashallah. Or he didn't say mashallah, but that's a nice jacket or whatever, right? Then he tells me, long story short, he's like, I just bought my first jacket, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how'd you spend your whole life and this is your first jacket that you're buying now? He said, I lived my whole life mostly in California or a lot of it or whatever. It was warm. I never needed a jacket. Now I'm in Virginia. I had to buy a jacket. It's freezing cold or whatever. Some way, somehow, I just had small talk with him. The topic of Islam came up. Flash forward to maybe at the end of this 5 or 6 or 7 minute long conversation, and I mentioned a few of the bases of Islam to this brother in such a casual, cool way where I wasn't being preachy, but I was just sharing knowledge, just sharing information, and in my heart, my intention was dawah, right? So this brother was so impressed that this brother, he said to me, he says, you know, basically, long story short, he had a Muslim name. He kind of basically told me, long story short, I was Muslim when I was born. My father was Muslim, but my parents got divorced at a very young age. My mom was Christian. She got remarried to some Christian dude. And then I grew up in the church, and I grew up as a Christian. And in my heart, I always had doubts. And part of me has been wondering about my Muslim identity that I kind of lost. And he's not in contact with his father. And he said, I've been praying to God to show me guidance, to bring me way. He said, this morning I was praying that God, bring me a sign. Now all of a sudden you're in my store and you're telling me about Islam, and everything you're saying makes so much sense. Flash forward, to make the long story short, I met with the brother another day. I spent about 2-3 hours with this brother. I told him everything about Islam. This brother converted and he took Shahada. I was just buying Philly cheesesteaks, bro. But every moment is dawah. That's the point that you're not understanding right now, dog. That every moment be dawah, dog. I just had a fly jacket and it became an opportunity for dawah, okay? Point number 2, okay? I was at the Adidas store, wallahi. I'm not making this up. 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, right? I was at the Adidas store. It's just shopping, ordinary day shopping at the Adidas store. But brother, the point you're not understanding is that every moment is dawah, dog. Every moment is dawah. I had a fresh pair of Adidas Prime Knit boots on, okay? This brother comes to me, he says, yo, what is them joints, right? And he worked at the Adidas store. I got Adidas Prime Knit boots. He don't even know about them. And he's like, yo, them joints fly. He's like, what are them joints? I said, they're Adidas Prime Knit boots, boy, what's up? And then this brother, we just make small talk. And in my heart, I'm thinking, you know, every moment there's an opportunity for dawah. I'm waiting for the moment. Then all of a sudden, this brother, okay, some way, somehow, he tells me he's from this country called Guyana, which is in South America. So it's in Spanish country, it's Spanish continent. But Guyana is a very diverse country where there's actually even Muslims in that country. So I mentioned, I said, you know, oh, that's cool. I know a little bit about Guyana. I know that they got some Muslims there, they got Hindus there, they got Christians there. I said, it's a very diverse place. Long story short, this brother finally, after me explaining a little bit about Islam to him, he says, bro, he says, you know, it's really cool you're mentioning this stuff to me. He says, did you know that I actually grew up in New York? And in New York, I had a lot of friends who had converted to Islam. And they used to tell me a lot about Islam. And at one point, I was really interested in converting to Islam. But there were some questions that I had that they didn't have the answers to. So I kind of just sort of stalled out, and I never really became a Muslim, even though I kind of wanted to become Muslim. Long story short, I spent about 30 minutes at the Adidas store rapping with this brother. In the store, on the spot, I had this brother like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Rasulullah. Because every moment is dawah. And then even then, this brother said to me before I left the store that day, he said, hey, yo, bro, he says, make sure that you give me a nice Muslim name. And I gave him the name Abdul Majid. This is a dope name. I said, you can call yourself Majid for short, but he goes by Abdul Majid, right? So that's his new name. This brother, he loved Islam so much, and just like one session of just kicking it with me, and I just kicked it with him like a brother. And at the end of the day, he said to me, he said, yo, don't make sure you don't forget, man, I want you to give me a Muslim name. And I called him like about a week. I had to take some time to think. About a week later, I gave him. I said, "Yo, I got you a nice name if you about it." And he said, "I love that name." What? He goes by Majid now. Long story short, the point here is that every moment is dawah. Okay, that's one point. We're gonna go to another point. Okay. Okay, so just really briefly before we get started, what exactly is dawah? Just a quick summary and overview just to give you an idea of what to expect before we drop the actual lecture. Dawah is an Arabic word literally meaning to invite. So in the context of Islam, it's to help preach or to share the message of Islam with others.
So, real quick, as Muslims, we believe that all of the mighty and noble prophets, such as Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Noah, Jacob, Jonah, Joseph, Isaac, Ishmael, Adam, peace be upon them all, and many more, we believe they were all sent by the same one God, with the exact same one message and the exact same religion as one another, which is to believe in one God and, the tenets of pure monotheism, which is known in Arabic as the word Islam. So Muslims, we also believe that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was the final prophet which was sent, and that the final book, final revelation, that was sent down to him, the Quran, was the last book which was ever sent by God, and that with that book, God finalized his revelation of every single holy scripture that he ever sent to humankind, and that the religion of Islam, the religion of all the prophets, it finally became complete with that last and final book, the final testament, which is the Holy Quran. However, we also believe that despite the fact God did send down true holy scriptures to the prophets of old, that over time those revelations, they became lost or corrupted, and that the authentic teachings of those prophets, they became lost or they became mixed up. So God then instructs us in the Quran to invite people to return back to the authentic way of all those prophets by calling people to the teachings of Islam. So, and the reason why we strive to learn how to preach or to, how to do da'wah, effectively is because, like every other important thing in life, one needs to use a good strategy. And as Muslims, we believe that we should always be very respectful of the beliefs of others, other religions, and to treat people, whether they're Muslim, whether they're non-Muslim, with love, respect, compassion, consideration. And so, to learn about the etiquettes, experiences, challenges, strategies, techniques, ups and downs, and all the different types of forms of da'wah, they become very essential when trying to learn how to invite and preach to others in a beautiful way. So, I have no doubt this video is going to, inshallah, God willing, be very beneficial and enjoyable to watch for anybody, regardless of their faith or their beliefs, although it's obviously primarily intended for a Muslim audience. And the reason for that is because, the stories, etiquettes, strategies, and much more which is discussed in this video, it ultimately comes down to accomplishing one main objective, which is for people to do their individual part to help make the world a better place.
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa bishrah li sadri, wa yassir li amri, wa hlul uqdatan min lisani, wa yafqahu qawli. Now, last time we were talking about stories of dawah, right? Which dawah is basically the word in Arabic, linguistically. What does dawah really mean? It means to invite, right? But when we talk about dawah practically, when you hear the word dawah, usually it means like inviting people to Islam. So dawah is one of two things. Dawah is mostly, the common way when we think of dawah is when you basically encourage non-Muslims to convert to Islam or to become Muslims, or you just explain the message of Islam to them in a way where you give them the chance to come to the path of Allah, which is the true religion of God, the only true religion that ever existed, right? And then the other type of dawah you can give is sometimes Muslims that are sinning or they're struggling or they're not doing what it takes to be the proper Muslims they need to be. Sometimes you give dawah to your own Muslims because you're trying to get them to come back on the straight path, to live the right way that they should be. And so, let me drop one quick hadith on you guys, right? Prophet Muhammad one time, he was in a gathering of some of his companions, and there was sand. Arabia is the desert, right? So in the sand, you know what he did? He took a stick, he drew a line, right? Like a vertical line, right? Then he took the stick and he drew a bunch of horizontal lines down the middle, okay? So it's like laces on a football. It's one straight line like this, then he drew horizontal lines all through it, right? Like a tic-tac-toe board or something like that, right? And then you know what he said to them? He said, this line in the middle, this is the straight path, right? And he said, all these other lines, these are the other paths that you can end up on. And he said, on every single other one of these lines, there's a shaitan waiting on those paths. He's waiting to come and get you, basically get you to slip up. The reason that's important is why? Because when we see, those people that are really on the deen, they're on that straight path mostly, right? But when you see the other ones, even if they're on the deen, right? But they're struggling or whatever the case may be, right? Those types of brothers, right? They're not on the straight path. They're on a path where shaitan is going to get it. They're going to fall into sins. They're going to slip up. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. So that brings me to my next point, okay? My next point is this, right? There's only one true way to be living your life, and that's to make deen number one, okay? If deen is not number one, it's not that the deen is not, okay, it's not that maybe like some people might feel like, oh, I'm bored of the deen. It's boring. I don't want to sit and read Quran. I don't want to go to the masjid. I don't want to come to Brother Samir's halaqa. I don't want to do this. I don't do that. They're bored by the deen. They're like, I have more fun on Instagram. I have more fun, on Facebook. I have more fun watching YouTube videos. I have more fun watching the rappers' videos with the half-naked girls in the music video. They're like, I have more fun doing these things than I have fun in the deen. The problem is not with the deen. The problem is with y'all, man. Because there's something wrong spiritually inside of your heart that you're not upon the fitra that Allah created you to be on. That Islam is supposed to be the number one most important thing to you. Allah Subhanahu, He says in the Quran, verily, right, it's in the remembrance of Allah, right, that the hearts are finding the true satisfaction. That's the only way that you're going to find the true happiness in this life. Because every single celebrity you see on the TV, every movie star you see, every athlete you see, a lot of them people's got major problems in their life, man. How many times you see celebrities, they begin divorces left and right? How many times you see celebrities that actually committed suicide, they killed themselves? Like that famous singer a long time ago, Whitney Houston, who killed herself, bruh. She had everything. Or that famous actor, Robin Williams, he had everything, he killed himself. Or that famous rock star, Kurt Cobain, who killed himself. So if they had it all and they had the life that half the times we think that this is what I want, how is it that they're going out there killing themselves and we're out here and we got not even half of what they got, and alhamdulillah, we're still happy enough that we come to the Friday prayer and we feeling good, we feeling boosted when we leave the khutbah. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises the haqq. It's the truth, man. So don't ever forget that first and foremost. But what I want to say to you now is this, okay? Your ultimate role in America is only one thing. Your ultimate role in Europe is one thing, or in Canada is one thing, or wherever you are in the world is only one thing. This is what the ulama say, this is what the scholars of the deen say. They say that if you're not living in a Muslim land, your number one objective should be that you're supposed to be a person of dawah to the people of the communities that you're living in. Your number one goal is dawah, meaning sharing the religion of Allah. Because I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'm trying to get to this talk. I've got a lot of other stuff. I don't want to go off track, but just so you guys have a vision of where I'm going with this. Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, Musa alayhi salam, Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Jacob, Jonah, Noah. The prophets that are in the Bible, these are the same prophets of the Quran. Why? Because they have the universal religion of Islam. Because Islam is an Arabic word which means that you're going to find true peace and happiness by submitting yourself to God's will. And every prophet, they were sent with the one message of Islam. But human beings later on, they came, they changed it, and things got mixed up. But the only book that remained intact to this day is the Quran, Holy Quran. Because you know what? One of the miracles of Quran, the whole book has been memorized from start to finish. The whole book. One of the scholars, he said that if we took every single religious group in the whole world and we threw all the religious books away in the ocean, we told everyone, throw your scripture in the ocean. The only one you bring it back in one day is Holy Quran, because you have millions of Hafiz in the world. They cannot even memorize probably half the Bible if they try, because it's not Allah's word. It used to be at one point when it came to Jesus alayhi salam, but it got mixed up ever since then. And they don't have the authentic teachings of Jesus with them anymore, but the Muslims do. Because this Quran, it comprises all of the teachings of every prophet. That's it. Point blank, period. Important to know that. Point number one, before we go on to understand the importance of dawah. So this right here, okay, is hashtag Ultimate Dawah Clinic, okay? I just like to say hashtag because it's funny. That's basically the only reason. The name of this, I wrote on the paper, Ultimate Dawah Clinic. That's what I wrote. So that's what y'all need to know. That's the Bible. We're going to start today. And then, inshallah, so that was the opening little vision for where we're going to go with this. Now, last time I tried to give y'all what I hope to be considered inspirational stories of my experiences of me dealing with people in dawah. Today, I'm going to have a few more stories that I didn't have a chance to cover last time. But today, I want to go through more of like kind of like a bullet list, right? Where I'm just going to be going through these different elements of what you can do to also become successful people in dawah, okay? Now, you know, this doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of a lifestyle change. And I'm not telling you, first of all, I want to clarify one point. I'm not telling any of you guys that, you know, Facebook is haram, or like social media is haram, or like you can't ever watch no music videos, or you can't ever go and watch your TV no more, and that you just gotta recite Quran and just pray tahajjud 24/7 and just basically volunteer at the masjid, and then that's all you gotta do. That's not what I'm saying to you, okay? But what I'm saying to you is make sure your vision is that Islam is before everything. That's the only reason I gave you the background, right? And then when you do that other stuff, you got to be real with yourself. Most of that stuff is either haram or is close to haram, okay? And if it's close to haram, if there was this rapper back in the day, he said, okay, right? He says, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head, right? He said that why? He's basically saying that sometimes in life, I'm giving you this example why, right? I don't listen to rap music, by the way, anymore, so some of y'all giving me funny looks, right? Listen, it's a funny line, but guess what? In Islam, right, if you get too close to the edge, Shaitan is going to come and get you. He's going to come and get you. Okay, that's the point that I'm trying to make here. Okay, from that stupid rap line that I gave you. But the point is what? It's that sometimes we get close to things which are close to being haram, and it's not super clear cut haram, but it's getting very close to falling into the forbidden categories and stuff. So my whole point is that we put Islam number one, and then we try to use good judgment and the rest of the stuff that we do. That's another topic. But right now I want to focus on dawah. Okay, so look real quick. I'm going to tell you two quick things real fast, okay? These are the best two compliments I ever had in my life, okay? Well, and you got to understand, sometimes in Islam, there's a concept of we don't want to show off. But then there's also a concept in Islam that we want to inspire and motivate, okay? And I'm telling you this, why? Because once you guys understand, there's more to this life than girls, okay? There is, I swear. There's more to this life than money and just living lavish and being luxurious and being famous, which is what the American dream is trying to sell you. Okay? The American dream is trying to sell you this dream that says if you have just hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, and if you got all of the girls in the world, and if you got the luxury cars, and you got the whips, and you got the houses, and you got the famous, celebrity husband or wife, or whatever it is, right? That this is the dream right here. But Islam is telling you this is not the dream. This is not the successful way. But these are the two best comments I ever had in my whole life. And I'm going to tell you why I'm giving you these examples in a second, okay? So, one quick example, okay? There was this little community like GMU, George Mason Fair thing where all the Muslim student groups were doing this little thing or whatever. Long story short, I'm going to make these stories as short as I can because I got a lot of stuff to cover. This one girl, okay, came to our booth, non-Muslim girl. She's saying, okay, I want to know about your little group. It's like an MSA, Muslim Student Association group in George Mason, right? So she's talking to the girl who's in my group. Then she says, oh, what about that guy over there? What does he do in the group? I was the president of the group at the time, right? And that girl said, the girl from my group, she told the other girl, the American girl, she said, oh, that's Samir. And she was like, oh, well, what does he do or whatever, right? Like, what part of the group is he? He said, Samir's just a one-man show. He's just a one-man show. And I thought about it later, and I kind of thought it was funny, because I thought about it, and I said, okay, look, every time at the events, right, someone has to give the khutbah, I'm usually giving the khutbah, okay? They need someone to recite the Quran, I'm usually reading the Quran. If they need someone to lead the salah, I can lead the salah. If they need someone to call the azan, I can call the azan. If they bring a non-Muslim in who wants to know about Islam, they say, go to Brother Samir, that brother got the answers to your questions. I'm organizing the events, I'm booking the rooms. So I was doing so many things, right, for that reason. But what she did, she said in one statement, just a compliment, what she was saying, this brother, right, he's just doing whatever it needs to be done. But my point is what? You got to be that type of dude yourself too. You know what I'm saying? You want to be that dude when they're like, yo, the imam's not here today. Who can lead the salah? You don't want to be in a jama'ah where everyone's like, damn, man, my tajweed is kind of shaky out this down. I can't really lead in the salah. Be that brother where you can step up to the plate. You know what I'm saying? Etc. These types of things. I give you that example. Why? I'm going to segue into my next best compliment that I ever received, okay? Muslim brother, he was Somalian, Hafiz of the Quran, right? This brother used to love Twitter. He was on Twitter 24/7, okay? One time I'm giving an Islamic lecture at George Mason or whatever, and at one point I got super lit at the top, okay? It's like I'm just, like, Noor is pouring out my mouth, like low-key. Like, I'm just joking, I'm trying to be funny. But the point is, I had a point, and with which I was really dropping some good stuff, okay? And he used to sometimes, like, Snapchat me or, whatever he used to do, right? He would record me or whatever. So there's one time he put a video of me on his Twitter. It had like thousands of retweets and likes or whatever. That wasn't like, I'm not saying it was super big, but it was kind of like low key, somewhat of a big deal. And I just remember one of the kids who had wrote a comment on the video, and he showed me this or whatever. Basically, the dude was like, oh my God, this dude is like a lion, bro. Or so he said something like high praise of me. And I was taking it humbly because I know, look, I'm letting y'all know, I ain't no perfect person. I make mistakes in life. I'm not a perfect guy and nothing. But I'm saying it was a good compliment. I was appreciative of it, right? The dude was like, oh, this brother, he's a lion, wow, like mashallah, great dawah. And then my friend who was the Somali brother, right, Hafiz, he writes back on the tweet, right? He replies back. He's like, bro, wallah, he said, this brother Samir is a dawah machine. He's a dawah machine. And I thought about that too. And I'm like, bro, my whole life is like, Allah has blessed me in a way where it's like every moment of my life becomes a moment of dawah, right? But that's the way dawah should be. Dawah is not like you turn on a switch, right? And then all of a sudden you just go out and you bring like a stack of Qurans with you and you hold up a sign that says like, y'all about to go to hellfire if you don't listen to the Quran, right? That's not dawah. That's not dawah, right? Dawah is just like, it's a very broad type of a thing, but look, I'm going to go into it now, okay? I don't want to give any more background. That's done, okay? Done with the background, okay? Real quick. I talked about a few important principles of what you can do to be successful in dawah last time we met, okay? Just a quick recap is this. You have to have knowledge. If you don't have knowledge of Quran, you don't have knowledge of Hadith, you're not going to be an effective person giving dawah, because what happens when they ask you, well, I heard Islam oppresses women. What do you say about that? Then what are you going to do? My bad. You're going to say, oh, my bad, like, let me just go try to find a nice YouTube video that I can send you. You don't got the answers, right? Or what if they say something else, like, oh, why do all people have to go to hellfire and this and that? And look, isn't God like such an unjust and unfair and mean God and stuff? We as Muslims, we know that Allah is fair. We know He's just. We know He's merciful. You know He's saving so many people from the hellfire, right? But you gotta have the answer to these questions, right? You can't go into dawah, you don't got the knowledge. So you have to be knowledgeable in order to be successful in dawah. Number two, other point that I mentioned, you have to be pure from sins. If you're committing major sins, you're never going to be successful in dawah. You're not going to have the blessing, the barakah you need to have the tawfiq, the help from Allah to really affect people's lives in a positive way if you yourself are not righteous. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not guided yourself, if you're not upon guidance, how can you help to guide others? It doesn't work that way. You got to be guided so you can help guide others, okay? Number three, you got to really sincerely have love and warmth in your heart for everybody. You know what I'm saying? You can't be a person who only cares about Muslims and you don't care about nobody else. If you're going to be preaching the message of deen, you have to have that same love in your heart that the prophets had, which is that you love everybody. You don't care if they're a non-Muslim. You don't be looking at non-Muslims like they're kafirs or something like that, right? You be looking at them as these are my brothers in humankind. I got to share this message with them. When you have love in your heart, last point that I wanted to mention, recap from last time, you have to have endurance in doing good deeds. Meaning that it's a struggle. It's a journey. It's like if you were being righteous for 1 month and then you're mad that no one's becoming Muslim, or you're mad that all your Muslim boys that are sitting and you're trying to encourage them to live righteously, it's not working. It's because you just started the journey, bro. You gotta, years and years sometimes it takes for you to become really strong in your deen. But once you have endurance and patience, you become strong in your deen, then you can share your faith with others and you're gonna find some more success. Now, okay, I just want to I'm going to go through a lot of different points. In the beginning, I'm going to mention a couple of stories, all right? In the beginning, I'm going to mention a couple of stories, but then as I get through the list, okay, I'm going to stop mentioning so many stories, and I'm just going to go quicker down the list. But in the beginning, I just want to give you a couple of quick stories, just so you can kind of get an idea of where I'm going with all this, okay? So, this point that I'm going to be calling, okay, this is our Dawah clinic. I'm going to name the point, and then I'm going to maybe give a story or a quick explanation, okay? So the first point is this. Every moment is Dawah. Every moment, okay? It's like you're not going out the house like I'm coming ready for Dawah. You got to be ready. You got to stay ready. You got to be prepared, okay? I'll give you an example. One day, I told you the story in the past. I'm going to give you a very short version of it, okay? I was at a Philly cheesesteak shop. I just went in. That's it. I'm just being me. And I had a nice jacket on. And the brother who was working the register, he was like, yo, basically, I'm going to give you a quick version, right? Basically, that's a dope jacket. Wow, mashallah. Or he didn't say mashallah, but that's a nice jacket or whatever, right? Then he tells me, long story short, he's like, I just bought my first jacket, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how'd you spend your whole life and this is your first jacket that you're buying now? He said, I lived my whole life mostly in California or a lot of it or whatever. It was warm. I never needed a jacket. Now I'm in Virginia. I had to buy a jacket. It's freezing cold or whatever. Some way, somehow, I just had small talk with him. The topic of Islam came up. Flash forward to maybe at the end of this 5 or 6 or 7 minute long conversation, and I mentioned a few of the bases of Islam to this brother in such a casual, cool way where I wasn't being preachy, but I was just sharing knowledge, just sharing information, and in my heart, my intention was dawah, right? So this brother was so impressed that this brother, he said to me, he says, you know, basically, long story short, he had a Muslim name. He kind of basically told me, long story short, I was Muslim when I was born. My father was Muslim, but my parents got divorced at a very young age. My mom was Christian. She got remarried to some Christian dude. And then I grew up in the church, and I grew up as a Christian. And in my heart, I always had doubts. And part of me has been wondering about my Muslim identity that I kind of lost. And he's not in contact with his father. And he said, I've been praying to God to show me guidance, to bring me way. He said, this morning I was praying that God, bring me a sign. Now all of a sudden you're in my store and you're telling me about Islam, and everything you're saying makes so much sense. Flash forward, to make the long story short, I met with the brother another day. I spent about 2-3 hours with this brother. I told him everything about Islam. This brother converted and he took Shahada. I was just buying Philly cheesesteaks, bro. But every moment is dawah. That's the point that you're not understanding right now, dog. That every moment be dawah, dog. I just had a fly jacket and it became an opportunity for dawah, okay? Point number 2, okay? I was at the Adidas store, wallahi. I'm not making this up. 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, right? I was at the Adidas store. It's just shopping, ordinary day shopping at the Adidas store. But brother, the point you're not understanding is that every moment is dawah, dog. Every moment is dawah. I had a fresh pair of Adidas Prime Knit boots on, okay? This brother comes to me, he says, yo, what is them joints, right? And he worked at the Adidas store. I got Adidas Prime Knit boots. He don't even know about them. And he's like, yo, them joints fly. He's like, what are them joints? I said, they're Adidas Prime Knit boots, boy, what's up? And then this brother, we just make small talk. And in my heart, I'm thinking, you know, every moment there's an opportunity for dawah. I'm waiting for the moment. Then all of a sudden, this brother, okay, some way, somehow, he tells me he's from this country called Guyana, which is in South America. So it's in Spanish country, it's a Spanish continent. But Guyana is a very diverse country where there's actually even Muslims in that country. So I mentioned, I said, oh, that's cool. I know a little bit about Guyana. I know that they got some Muslims there, they got Hindus there, they got Christians there. I said, it's a very diverse place. Long story short, this brother finally, after me explaining a little bit about Islam to him, he says, bro, he says, it's really cool you're mentioning this stuff to me. He says, did you know that I actually grew up in New York? And in New York, I had a lot of friends who had converted to Islam. And they used to tell me a lot about Islam. And at one point, I was really interested in converting to Islam. But there were some questions that I had that they didn't have the answers to. So I kind of just sort of stalled out. And I never really became a Muslim, even though I kind of wanted to become Muslim. Long story short, I spent about 30 minutes in the Adidas store rapping with this brother. In the store, on the spot, I had this brother like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an Rasulullah. Because every moment is dawah. And then even then, this brother said to me before I left the store that day, he said, hey, yo, bro, he says, make sure that you give me a nice Muslim name. And I gave him the name Abdul Majid. This is a dope name. I said, you can call yourself Majid for short, but he goes by Abdul Majid, right? So that's his new name. This brother, he loved Islam so much, and just like one session of just kicking it with me, and I just kicked it with him as a brother. And at the end of the day, he said to me, he said, yo, don't make sure you don't forget, man, I want you to give me a Muslim name. And I called him like about a week. I had to take some time to think. About a week later, I gave him. I said, "Yo, I got you a nice name if you bad it." And he said, "I love that name." What? He goes by Majid now. Long story short, the point here is that every moment is dawah. Okay, that's one point. We're gonna go to another point. Okay, your dawah will be successful. Why? Okay, when you actually have strength and power at respecting yourself and your values and what you're about. Because people, they naturally will love you if you actually have a self-respect for yourself, okay? Like there's a lot of brothers, his name is, I'm not frying y'all, I'm not calling y'all out, but there's a lot of brothers whose name is Muhammad, but they just want to be called by Mo, right? There's a lot of brothers out there, okay? There's a lot of brothers out there, right? Their name is like Abdul Rab, right? But like they go to the job interview and they're like, hey, how's it going? Like, my name's Abdul Rab, but you can just call me Robbie. You can just call me, that brother's name was Abdul Bari, he be telling everyone, call me Barry. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like that, right? But the point is what? Sometimes when you just, my name is Muhammad, like, you're proud of it. People will respect you for that. I'm going to give you one quick example, right? When I was young, let me tell you one thing about middle school, bro. Are any of y'all in middle school? Probably y'all in high school mostly? Okay, you're in middle school? Okay. Yeah, okay. But bro, middle school, when I was looking back on my middle school, bro, middle school was like the roughest part of life, low key. Because in middle school, if you had the wax shoes on, everybody about to fry you. Everybody fried, you know? If everyone got the Jordan side, but your Jordan side got a little bit crooked, like you got the Shaq Jordan side, the Shaquille O'Neal Jordan, or something like that, everyone was about to cook you all week. All semester until you finally got a new pair of shoes, right? Or if you go up in class in middle school and you have to stand in front of the teacher and you have to give the presentation and you be stuttering and you all nervous and everyone in the back of the room laughing at you like, dog, this speech sucks. Middle school was rough days, okay? But let me tell you one funny thing about me. When I was in elementary school, middle school, the teachers used to be like on the roll call. Sam Iyer, and like messing up my name, even though my name is not even that hard to pronounce, right? It's not even like a hard name, right? But they always been saying my name wrong. And they'd be like, can we just call you Sammy? Or like, do you prefer to be called Sam? I'd be like, man, like, do I look like some Sam I am to you, bro? My name is Samir, bro. It's not that hard to say, bro. Do I look like Toucan Sam to you, dog? That you try to call me Sam? Well, my name is Samir, and that's way cooler than Sam. But there was a lot of brothers, I'm sure their name was Samir, but they want to be called Sammy instead, or Sam, right? But, and I'll be real, when I was young, and when you're young, you're insecure sometimes. Like, you're not confident with your identity, especially when you're in America, and you're Muslim, and like, one of the few, like, only 2 Muslim kids in the whole class and everyone else is American. They be trying to join on everybody for any reason they get. So it's hard. But even then, Allah, He just gave me like a pride about my name that I just always loved my name. So even in those days, I used to tell people like, yo, like my name is Samir. Like sometimes the people would be trying to join on you. They'd be trying to cook you, right? What's your name? And I already knew that they're going to try to join on me. So I'd be like, yo, my name is Samir, dog. Like basically, what's up? Like, in advance, I just, with my swag, I'm just letting them know, like, yo, you better not try to join me right now, right? And people used to always show me respect. But I knew other person, they'd be like, my name is Ahmed. And they'd be like, what kind of name is Ahmed? And they'd be frying on people and stuff. But if you carry yourself with respect, people will give you that respect back, and it will have effect in your dawah. Let me give you one example, okay? There's a funny story. I gave you this example in the past, too. There's a funny story, okay? I'm going to just tell you how much, as best as I can remember. And look, so I was at the mall, okay? And I had this brother who came up to me, right? And he just said to me, he said, yo, you got a fresh outfit on or whatever, right? It's funny because every moment can become an opportunity for dawah, as we talked about before, right? So I'm in the store. I gotta make the long story short now, even though these are funny stories, but I just gotta go a little quicker, right? So this brother, he comes to me. He says basically, yo, like you're super fly, whatever, this and that, like what's your name? He's just rapping with me, just kind of vibing with me, right? Then all of a sudden, okay, you know what this dude says, okay? He says to me, he says, yo, bro, he says, look, you gotta tell me the truth. He's like, where's the best club around here that got all the best women? He's like, I want to find the club that got all the fine girls. He told me straight up. He's probably thinking that I know what's up, right? And he said to me, actually, he said, you seem like the kind of guy that you know definitely where the best club is at, that got all the fine women or whatever, right? And so look, I told this brother this. I said, look, if you would have asked me this question a few years ago, right? I said, I would have given you the best answer. I said, but right now, I got the answer that you want, but I can't give it to you. And this dude was like, what? Like basically, right? He's like, why not, man? And stuff like that. I said, look, I'm giving you the long story short. I said, I'm Muslim. Long story short, I'm not supposed to be about that kind of sinful sort of life. If I tell you which club to go to, chances are you might find some fine shorties. You might get yourself in some trouble with some fine shorties. You might be fornicating, whatever the case may be, etc., whatever. And I'm going to be accountable for part of that sin, because this is what our faith teaches us, is that we have to, help people to do good deeds, and we have to help do our part to make sure that we don't ever facilitate people to do stuff which is not good in the sight of God. And I pretty much explained to him. I said, you probably a Christian brother, I'm assuming. He said, yeah. I said, and even in the Bible it says that, fornicators or whatever, they're not going to enter the kingdom of God. I said, this is something which is from the universal religion of every prophet. I said, but we Muslims, we take our faith really seriously. I said, I'd love to help you out. I said, you my brother, you my man, but I can't tell you where the dopest club's at. So I stood up. I did something bold. I did something courageous for my deen. And this brother respected me because of that. And he said, bro, I ain't never met nobody who was so sincere and so devoted, basically, like to their faith like that. And he wanted to know a little bit about Islam. And then I rapped a little bit about Islam with him, not too much or whatever, right? And then at the end of all of it, you know what the brother said to me? He says, I got a lot of respect for you. This and that. He said, I'm going to definitely look into Islam more, this and that. I'm very curious to research about it, whatever. And then he said, but let me just ask you one last question, man. I said, what? He says, come on, bro. Just tell me what the best club is at, bro. Just tell me where it's at. And I said, bro, wallahi, if I could do it, I said, I would tell you, but I can't even, I can't do it. I said, I said, if you look hard enough, I said, you're going to probably find it. I said, but I can't be the one to put you on with that situation, whatever. And he was like, man, respect, dog. He's like, you were real. He said, you were real, basically, right? And so we got that one. But that became an opportunity for dawah for that brother. You see? Just something, even just stand up for who you are, whatever the case may be, right? Now, I'm going to now go into a different story, okay? Now, okay, you guys pay attention? I feel like the ladies' side is losing focus. Ladies' side, I want you guys to pay attention, all right? We're going to go into some dope stuff in a little bit, okay? So, now, so just to get you guys back on the right track, so remember, this is the focus, okay? We're trying to figure out how we give dawah. The best way. There's lots of ways to do it, okay? Now, I'm also giving some stories, which kind of just helps us to understand practically how it goes down, right? Now, this is an example which all of you guys are going to be able to relate to, and this is a good way to do it, okay? So look. I'm in class one day, right, at George Mason, right, back in the day, a few years back, right? And what happened was this. I'm in the class, and I can't remember what happened, but there was some shooting that had happened or whatever. It was all over the news, right? It was around that time. And it happens, unfortunately, a lot. Now, what happened was this. Some of the people in the class were talking about it, and everyone was acting mad hopeless. Like, they were basically like, oh, man, like, these people, they just go around with guns, and they start shooting up innocent people. Like, it happens sometimes at elementary schools. It happens recently in Texas. It happened at, a Walmart and stuff like that. So it's just crazy people. They just get a gun. They start shooting up innocent people for no reason, right? But check this one out, okay? So, once again, I'm taking this as an opportunity for dawah. So I raised my hand, right, in the middle of the class. Guys, pay attention. So I raised my hand in the middle of the class, and I said, look, I know everyone is really hurt by the tragedy that went down, or whatever the case is. I said, but the truth is that there's still hope, even in what seems like a very hopeless time. And I said, and I mentioned to them basically two hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, right, which I'm not going to mention now, but I'll mention one of the hadith, which I said, look, the end of time does not come until the person who's doing the killing, right? This Prophet ﷺ, he said, in the akhir zaman, before the end of the world comes, he said, a person will kill somebody, and he doesn't even have a reason for why he's killing that other person. There's no reason that he has, right? It's like something stupid and trivial, right? And he says, and the person who's getting killed, he doesn't even know for what reason he got killed. And that's exactly what's happening in today's day and age. And I mentioned other hadith, which is that killing is going to be very, very extremely widespread, right? And I said, and the solace that we as believers take in that, I'm saying in the middle of my class, mostly like probably 95% Americans, right? I'm saying in the middle of the class. I said, and the signs we take that is that Prophet Muhammad also gave us a list of all the other signs of what happens before the end of the world. And I said, and did you know that one of the final signs is that Allah, Almighty God, I said, God is going to send out Prophet Jesus back to come and to save the world from all the corruption, all the evil, and he's going to restore peace and justice on the earth. Boom. That was it. Just drop the Dawah load on him, right? And then I'm telling you, I had the class buzzing. They were like, damn, like Muslims would be like talking about Jesus coming back and like this, and then that hopelessness turned into hope, right? And I had a few kids even after the class and even over the course of the semester, they said, yo, like I didn't know Islam knew about Jesus and talking. I said, bro, Allah says that Jesus is one of the 5 greatest prophets in the whole Quran, bro. And I started, he's the Messiah, he's the Masih, right? Ibn Maryam alayhi salam, right? And then it just becomes opportunities for dawah. So these are the ways that we take opportunities for dawah. Now, okay, another point that I want to make now, okay? Sometimes, in order for your dawah to be perfect, and now I'm going to cut down the story time a little bit, and I'm going to go into some of the different points, right? So I want you guys to keep up with me. And I'm going to mention a few stories here and there along the way, but I'm going to just, okay, follow with me, all right? So one of the other key points, okay, of giving dawah is the intention. You have to have an intention in your heart that, oh Allah, basically, from this day forward, I want to live my life. And I want to, obviously, as we talked about before, have the knowledge that it takes to be successful in dawah, have a good, love in your heart towards people, trying to live a righteous life, these types of things, which are the prerequisites, right? But now, I want to do my part to make a difference positively in other people's lives. So when you have that intention, Allah will give you opportunities to make a positive impact in people's lives. So having the intention of being a person of dawah, important point, okay? Point number 2, okay? You have to be able to put the effort in. If you don't give the effort, you don't look for the opportunity, you don't try to seize the opportunity, you're too scared, you're too nervous, you're being like cowardly, you're not being brave enough, you're not giving the effort. You got to give the effort. You may get rejected or you may fail. But a lot of times, your goal is to not get that person to become Muslim in one day. But your goal is to just kind of share a little beautiful aspect of Islam with that person. Because what it does is it creates like a spiritual opening for that person in their life, right? It basically gives, it's kind of like this, okay? You're kind of just trying to plant a seed in somebody's heart for Islam, right? And over time, that person, by Allah's guidance, right, and His will, right, it will slowly start to become watered. It will slowly start to, become harvested. And eventually, one day, that person will reach a level where they're learning enough about Islam and they know about Islam that they understand that Islam is the only true religion of God. So sometimes your goal is just to plant the seed and then Allah will take care of the rest, okay? That's one of the things, all right? Here's another point for successful dawah, okay? It's your own sidq, which is like your own truthfulness, okay? Meaning like this, okay? I'm going to keep it real for you. It's like basically like this. How real are you? Like, it's like people be talking about, oh, we keep it real. We be keeping it real. Keep it real with me. Bruh, that don't be fake. This and that. We're always talking about realness. But if you want to be able to give good dawah, Allah is the judge of whether you're really real or whether you're not real. Allah is the judge of how real you are. And if you really live that Islamic life that you be talking, or that you be preaching to other people, right? Then Allah will make you successful in your dawah. But if you preach and you say things and you do things and that's not really who you are, your dawah will not be successful. So if you keep it real with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah knows what you be doing. Allah knows if you pray in the salah, you skipping the salah. Allah knows whether you watching the halal things on TV or you watching the haram things, that you doing things that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about, but He be watching you. And you think your parents don't know that you watching that stuff, or you think that your friends don't be knowing, or you think that this person doesn't know that person, and you watching certain movies or you watching certain things on social media, or you're looking at things that you shouldn't be. Allah be knowing, right? So, but if overall everything in life, if you keep it real with Allah and the Deen, He will make you successful in your dawah. So you have to practice what you preach. If you are a real person and you're a truthful person in the sight of Allah, He will make your dawah successful. Okay. Now here's another point. Okay. You got to know your role, all right? There used to be, y'all know Dwayne Johnson, The Rock? He used to be a famous wrestler back in the day. I never used to care about watching wrestling. It was never really it wasn't my forte. It wasn't, it never really piqued my fancy, as they say. But my cousins used to always watch it. And this dude, Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock, was a movie star now or whatever, right? He used to be like one of those, it's like fake wrestling, right? WWF or whatever, right? He used to have this one line, which was basically, he used to tell everyone, he's like, know your role and shut your damn mouth, right? So it's just kind of funny to me, right? But he used to always say, know your role, know your role, know your role, right? I don't know why that popped in my head, but the thing that I wrote on the paper is know your best role. So that's why I just kind of went on other topic for a second. But look, know your best role is basically like this. Some of y'all, maybe you're not the best at talking, right? You're not a good speaker, right? So for you, maybe your best way of giving dawah is not to try to talk people, convince people into Islam, right? Some of you guys may be a good writer. Maybe you're good at writing, but you're not that good at speaking. You're not good at public speaking, but you're good at writing. So sometimes for you, maybe the best dawah is to go on your Facebook page or your social media page and write some really cool type of stuff about Islam that people can relate to, and you share that on your social media, and it becomes a source of dawah, right? Some of you people, right, maybe are never going to be a good speaker or never going to be a good writer. Maybe you're rich, you got a lot of money, you're wealthy, right? Sometimes the best type of way that you're supporting dawah is you go to the people who have dawah organizations and you donate money to them so you can help them buy more Qurans to spread to the people, so that they can buy more dawah booklets so they can give out to the people. So you got to know, what's the best way that I can help take a part in dawah? If I'm a good speaker, then you can speak to people. If you're a good writer, you can write good stuff. If you're wealthy, you can share money that will help support dawah efforts of other people who are good at speaking and good at writing. There's ways you can do it. And if you suck at everything else, okay, and I can't give dawah, I don't know. Bro, just posting a YouTube link of a really good Islamic video that you know people will relate to, right? Or a video is going to shock people and open up their eyes to the truth of Islam, and just sharing that on your social media, you can at least do that, can't you? You can at least do it. So when there's a will, there's a way. Just remember, know your role. What can I do best to support the dawah? And then do that as best as you can, okay? Here's another quick point. Having sincerity and having swag, okay? Straight out, I wrote it on the paper. Sincerity and swag. It's in the same bullet point, okay? Sincerity is this, that you really you believe this is the right way. Like you don't have no doubts. Like you are 100% convinced that I got to share this message to the people, man. People are going to go to Jannah. They're going to go to paradise if they know about this deen. And I'm going to go share this message. When you have that ikhlas, when you have that sincerity, Allah will put barakah in your dawah. Point number 2, when you have swag. When you have swag in your dawah will go far. What does that mean? If you're all shy and you just feel like, oh, you're embarrassed about Islam and you're just kind of like, oh, I don't know. You're a scaredy cat, right? If you like that, your dawah is going to be weak, bro. Your dawah is going to be soft shell taco, mild sauce. It's going to be like that. No, straight up, okay? Your dawah is going to be weak sauce, okay? But if you carry yourself like, I'm holding on to Islam, which is like a pot of gold, like it's like a treasure, and you just got that swag like, man, this is the best thing on earth, and I'm going to share with everybody. And that's what Islam is. Islam is what is going to save people from the fire, and it's what's going to bring people to eternal paradise and Jannah. Which Prophet ﷺ, he said in one hadith, it's like the eternal banquet. The eternal banquet of just bliss and happiness and amazingness. Everything you ever wanted. Allah, he says in the Quran, I prepared for my righteous servants who are going to inherit the Jannah. Things that no mind has ever imagined. Things that no ear has ever heard. Things that no eye has ever seen. This is how much happiness and bliss and delight there's going to be in Jannah, man. So, preaching your dawah, where Islam is like the greatest thing on earth, and then it rubs off on people, okay? It has barakah, it has blessing, okay? All right? Here it is, okay? I'm going to give a short story, okay? This is another important point of dawah. Seizing the opportunity that you got in front of you. Because dawah is not something that you force. You can't just, guys, you pay attention? Pay attention, guys. Dawah is not like this, that you go out the house, and you find a person, you pick him, and you say, yo, bro, guess what? I'm a Muslim, and I got to share the responsibility of deen with y'all. And guess what? This is what Islam is, A to Z, and if you don't accept this, you're going to hell. That's not dawah, dog. That's whack dawah, okay? Real dawah is like this. You're waiting for the opportunity to find a way to bring up Islam in a way that they can relate to, that they can connect to, right? So for example, if I give dawah to a black person, it's different than the dawah that I give to a white person. You know that? I swear to God. You gotta know who your audience is, you know? If you go in business and you go to Japanese people and you come with gangster rap swag, that's not the right vibe for that Japanese dude who doesn't speak any English. You know what I'm saying? Or vice versa, whatever. If you go to the Arab countries, you gotta rock probably some Arab clothing. You come in the Arab countries with Vietnamese dress, Oriental dress, they'll be like, who's this guy? What's he doing? Arabia right now, looking like this. You're not gonna connect to people, bro. So the point is what? You gotta know, your audience, you gotta know your clientele, basically, you gotta know who you're dealing with, right? And you wait for the opportunity, and then you seize it, and you connect with them in a way that they can relate. And your goal is not that I'm trying to get this guy to become Muslim on the spot. Your goal is to give them that spiritual seed, which later on it becomes harvested, and they can one day, inshallah, accept the deen. And you just take it wherever it goes. You take the opportunity that you get. I'm going to give you one quick example, right? So there's a story of seizing the opportunity for dawah. And this is going to also expand our understanding of dawah too in general, okay? So check this one out, okay? A few times when I was at the Afghani Maimanis, we call them, parties, right? With my elders and stuff, right? So the uncles and stuff or whatever, the aunties, not everyone prays in Afghan culture in our communities, but alhamdulillah, like most of the elders, they try to do their best to pray the salah, right? So, but a lot of the Afghani elders, like they're not really, like they haven't taken the deen that seriously, so they're not reciting Quran the way that it needs to be recited. But we in our culture, we let the elders lead the salah even if they're not really here. But in Islam, you're actually the person who is the most capable and most skilled at reciting is supposed to recite. And if there's a hafiz, the hafiz is supposed to recite. Even if the hafiz is 12 years old and the rest of the jama'ah is all adults, the 12-year-old hafiz should be leading the salah according to Islam because he's the hafiz and he can recite the expert level. And then from the hafizes, if one hafiz, his tajweed is not that good, but there's another hafiz who's reciting at an expert level, the one who's on an expert level is supposed to be leading the salah. But anyways, in our culture, we let the elders lead. I've been in this situation a few times. I kept letting the elders lead. But there was one day where the elders were like, who wants to lead? And they're like, kind of like, they're all shy. So I took this as an opportunity for dawah. I said, I'm leading salah, dog. What's up? Allahu Akbar. Okay? Bruh, mashallah, I gave a good recitation of Quran. I knew this was an act of dawah. Why? Because the minute that I finished, all the elders are like, oh my God, alhamdulillah, mashallah, Samir, when did you learn to recite like this? And they're all loving it. And then now they're all asking questions. And then every time those same people see me, they're like, oh, alhamdulillah, you're such a good guy, you're on the right path. And they just like, and every time I have an opportunity to talk to them a little about Islam, because of just reciting the salah once or twice for them, right? So even that, it became an opportunity for dawah. If I was being shy and if I was being a weak little boy, right? And I was like, nah, I'm just going to keep letting these elders recite the salah. Even these other future opportunities for dawah, they don't even come up now. And they're happy, they're proud, so like, they're always like, they feel good now. It was a beneficial thing in many ways, right? Now, another thing is this. Sometimes when you're giving dawah to people, you try to take an opportunity, but it's not flowing so well. Either maybe, some days, okay? I'll give you an example, right? Some days, if y'all are balling, y'all playing basketball, you're playing hoop, some days your shot is just on. You're just like making everything that day. Your shot is fire that day, right? You're on fire, right? But then some days you try so hard and all you're shooting bricks. You don't know why. Similarly with dawah, some days it's just pouring out of your heart. It's just like flowing nur. It's like flowing light, right? It's like everything is just so smooth. The other person is vibing. Everything is beautiful. Everything is great. But then some days you're trying. It's just, the dawah is not coming that well. In those cases, sometimes the best dawah is to kind of wrap it up kind of quick. Behave in a good way with that person, whatever, and then you shake your hand, the dude's person, hey, I'm Muhammad. And then he just remembers that, that Muhammad, he was a nice guy. Those Muslims aren't so bad like the way Fox News tries to show that Muslims are bad. They're not so bad like that. Sometimes that's the best dawah. You just gotta go with the flow of the situation, okay? All right? Great example. Guys, ladies, you're not paying attention, some of you, okay? All right? Check this, another point of dawah, okay? I ran into a homeless person one day outside the store. He was asking for money. I only have my card on me. I don't even have no bread, right? Yeah. Well, there we go. Okay. Appreciate the honesty, guys. Good quality of a Muslim right there. That will make you successful with that one. Okay, check this out, right? So look, so anyways, the dude, okay, he didn't have no, he was asking for money. I didn't have cash on me. I only had a card or whatever, okay, etc. So I just started talking to him, small talk, waiting for the opportunity for dawah. Then I had a chance to mention a little bit of something about Islam. This guy says to me, he's like, yeah, he says, I'm Muslim too. I said, oh, yeah, so you Muslim or whatever? And he was like, yeah. And I was trying to make sure first, like, is this guy just saying he's Muslim so that maybe I feel bad and I give him money or something? But then he says to me a few things where I realized, oh, he's really Muslim. I said, when did you become Muslim? He says, I became Muslim about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm just talking, I got the sense he didn't know that much. He didn't know that whole lot. But anyways, so I'm just explaining a little bit about Islam to him, so I'm trying to strengthen his iman, right? He's loving it. He's like really getting boosted. And he told me at one point, it's actually funny, this brother, he said to me what? He said to me at one point, he said, I always really wanted to get a Muslim name, but I just never got around to it. I said, can I give you a Muslim name? I gave him the name Hanif, which is a dope Muslim name. I'm not going to do the story. But anyways, long story short, even that was a cool opportunity for me in dawah. When you're a person of dawah, Allah will give you opportunity for cool stuff. For you to give a brother a cool, dope Islamic name, Bro, that's a blessing. It's a blessing. Why is my Muslim brother, you know what I'm saying? He's homeless, he's in hard times, but I gave him a cool Muslim name and I gave him some cool dawah, right? But you know what's so cool about that brother's story was this. I asked him one question before I left. I said, what was the main thing that made you want to become a Muslim? I said, or whatever. And this brother said to me, he says, to be 100% honest, it's the character of the Muslims. He said, I was around Christians and Muslims most of my whole life and I was Christian. He said, but the Muslims, they had this kind of this love and this warmth and this friendship that I never really had with my other brothers that was Christians, right? He says, and that kind of made me feel like these brothers is on some godly stuff, like, and the stuff they're preaching, it probably is more likely to be true. And he said, when I found out about the teachings of Islam, I became convinced and I became Muslim, right? So I give you the example. Why? Did you know Prophet Muhammad himself, okay? His wife said about him to a man that asked her, what was the character of the Prophet, like, right? She said to him, he was like the Quran. Have you ever read the Quran? And the man said, yes, I read the Quran. But what do you mean by that? He said, Prophet, he was like the walking Quran. He was the talking Quran. His whole life, his whole movements, his amal, his deeds, everything was like what the Quran preaches. And so what that basically means is this. When you become a person who really practices what you preach, you're about your deen, you will make an impact on people's lives. Let me give you one quick story, okay? There was a time when the Prophet he saw an old woman. She was trying to carry a load of some stuff. I don't know if it was her groceries or what she was moving or what it was, but she was trying to carry something heavy. She didn't have the ability to do it. So Prophet he tried to go and try to help this lady, and he tried to carry her heavy stuff for her to help her to make it to her house. And you know, the whole time, this lady is complaining about Prophet Muhammad to Prophet Muhammad. She doesn't know it's Prophet Muhammad. And she's basically saying like, oh, you know, in society nowadays, Muhammad is dividing Arabia, and all these people are fighting because of religion now, and there's just so much division, and there's no more unity, and all these. So she's saying a bunch of stuff about Prophet Muhammad. She's saying negative stuff about him, right? Prophet Muhammad the whole time is just kind of like, yeah, well, you know, we have to think about what his real message is, and you know, what's his intentions, and this and that, and we shouldn't be so quick to judge. And he's just kind of consoling her, and just kind of just being a humble dude, and just being chill. And he's not even saying anything about the fact that he's Prophet Muhammad. And did you know that the very end, and this is authentic narration, authentic hadith, and at the very end of all of that, guess what? The lady says to him, you're such a nice man. I haven't met anybody as nice and as good as you. I thank you so much. You went out of your way. You cared all this love for me. What's your name, young man? He says, my name is Muhammad. My name is Muhammad. And subhanAllah, you know what that lady said? She said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu wa Muhammad abduhu Rasulullah. She accepted Islam right on the spot because of the character of the Prophet. There was another one of the famous Sahabis that I mentioned last time. When he heard the Prophet preaching, in just one day, he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu wa Rasulullah. Why? He said, because when I saw the Prophet's face, I knew instantly this was not the face of a liar. That this is a person, he's so real. It's just, you can just tell, it's just flowing realness. And I just could not even deny that there's no way that this guy, with the kind of message he's preaching, that I don't even need to hear no more. This has to be a prophet of Allah. SubhanAllah, this is the reality of the deen, man. So, ladies' side, we're getting distracted. I'm dropping gems, but you guys are not, paying attention. So, come on, pay attention. It's good for your own benefit. The guys, alhamdulillah, y'all are keeping it real tonight. I appreciate it, okay? Next example, okay, real quick. Here's another example for successful dawah, okay? Be the best presentation of yourself that you can be. What does this mean? If you want to give dawah, let me tell you one thing about the prophets of Allah that ulama say. Did you guys know that every prophet that Allah sent, every prophet, okay, Allah made them very physically handsome and beautiful. To the point where it was like when people would see them, they'd be like, man, like that's just a beautiful dude right there, like low key, And even as guys, we can recognize a good looking dude from an ugly looking dude. People be like, oh, he ugly, like he be clowning. But then they'd be like, yo, no homo dog, like you good looking guy, even as guys, you recognize beauty whether you're a guy or a girl, right? And it applies both ways, right? But the point is what? There was a hikmah, a wisdom in this, as the scholars say. They say that one of the reasons that Allah made the prophets not only the most beautiful human beings in the soul, but even beautiful in their appearance, is because people respond more closely and connect to you if you're more attractive and more handsome. But the point that I'm giving to you is this: why? When you're going out in dawah, you should wear nice clothing. When you're going out and you're living your life, you should make sure that you're looking nice, presentable, clean, take a fresh shower, got the fresh cologne on, the fresh perfume on, smelling your best, these types of things. Why? Because if you go out the house with dirty clothes on, raggedy, your hair, looking all sloppy and messy, or whatever the case may be, right? All these different types of people, right? They will look at you kind of and they'll judge you. People will judge you, if you're not looking your best or whatever, right? So even when they say go to a job interview, they used to say, make sure you're well groomed, whatever the case may be. Make sure, you do your hair nicely, make sure your beard is groomed nicely or whatever. Your clothes are neat, they look good, they're fitted. All these types of things. If you try to do your best to look your best, right? And everyone is beautiful, everyone is handsome, but you just have to make sure that you do your best to take care of the way that you look, the way that you act, the way that you speak. This will have an effect on you so that you do your best that you can in your dawah, okay? Another aspect of dawah, you have to learn from your experiences in dawah. You have to grow from your failures. One time, let me give you an example of what I mean by growing from your failures and learning from your experiences, right? I'm going to make this long story extremely short, okay? What time is it? Do y'all know what time it is?
8:45.
What time?
8:45.
8:45, right?
8:45.
Okay. Sometimes those clocks are not 8:45. Okay. I'm going to try to finish within 15 minutes. I'll try to finish by 9 o'clock, okay? I'm going to go faster, okay? But look, sometimes you have to, everything's good? Okay. Sometimes you have to learn from your experiences and your mistakes and doubts. Let me give you one example. One day I was sitting at the Chipotle, and this older couple, they sat next to me, and I don't know how we just got into some small talk opportunity for dawah, right? So I'm just mentioning a few things about Islam, right? And before I know it, it's one of those days where it's like your shot is on, you're just on fire, right? It's pouring, it's pouring, it's pouring, it's pouring. These people are like loving the message of Islam. They're loving it, they're loving it, they're loving it. Then the guy asked me one time, he says, in Islam, are the men allowed to get married? Is it encouraged for the men or whatever to get married and stuff, right? And the reason for that is why? Because in Christianity they forbid the priests from getting married, the nuns from getting married, and stuff. And that's not proper. That's not what Jesus ever taught his people to do. But they have their reasons for doing that, and it's not right in Islam. It's not right at all. You're not supposed to be celibate. You're supposed to get married because it helps you to that urge, that desire you have for a woman, right? Or if you're a woman, the urge you have for a man. That too, it helps you reproduce so you have children, that's important, but also it helps you to be able to do that which is good. Like for example, if you're a young dude, you know what I'm saying, you see all these girls, your hormones are raging and stuff, when you get married, and then now you got a wife at home, or whatever the case may be, bro, you like chilling, you good, like every day you're looking forward to come home to your wife, right? So that desire, which is going to lead you to something haram, is going to now be satisfied in a good way, in a clean way, that Allah approves of. So this man, but guys, check this out. So this man says to me, right? He's like, basically like, it's good for the Muslim men to get married or whatever, right? And I was so shocked by this question, right? That without even thinking about the fact that his wife was next to him, right? I just said to him, I said, bro, in Islam, we can get 4 wives, dog. We can get up to 4, right? Like, I just said that as kind of like a joke. In Islam, you're not even necessarily recommended to get 4 wives. You're recommended to get 1, right? But certain rules, certain situations, you can marry up to 4, right? 2, 3, or 4. That's what Allah says in the Quran. He says, but if you can't deal with them justly, with fairness and justice, right? Or if you cannot handle it, he says, then only marry just 1. Only just marry. And that's why most people only marry 1 woman, because realistically, 1 woman alone is hard to be able to be the best man you can be for just 1 woman, let alone taking multiple women. But there are certain exceptions of when you're going to take more than 1 wife. But I said that without thinking. I'm not even joking you, right? 5 minutes before that, I was talking to them about Islam, and I mentioned to them casually just to see where their head was at. I said, look, I could go on for days, but I don't want to make you guys exhausted, right? And the dude's wife said to me, oh, no, it's fine. We have all day, basically. Like, we're good, we're chilling. The minute I said to think about the 4 wives in front of the lady without thinking, okay? This lady was like, this kind of, right? And I was, maybe that wasn't like a good move or whatever, right? But I didn't think about it too much. I just kept on going on with the conversation we was in. And then, within about 2 minutes, this lady got up out of her chair, and she just starts like, to her husband like this, and basically, she's like, yeah, we gotta go, like, it's time to go, we gotta roll out. And in my head, I'm like, what's gotten into her? I was like, 5 minutes ago, she was like, we got all day. And then I looked back at her later, I said, bro, when I mentioned the 4 wives thing, she shook, and her husband, no homo, was a good-looking guy, right? But he was middle-aged, but he was a good-looking guy. So she might be thinking like, yo, if this dude gets too cool with Islam, he might just pop up with a second wife out of this joint, because that's how Shaitan be messing with people's heads. So she was like, yo, honey, we gotta get up out of this joint. And she was trying to be nice and stuff like that, whatever. But bro, the vibe changed. So then I realized now for the future, for dawah, learn from that failure, learn from that experience. Then now I know when you're around women, probably not a good idea to mention the 4 wives subject, unless you got the time to talk about that subject in detail so they understand it's not savage. Because When you hear the 4 whys, you think it's savage, but when you hear the reasonings, the explanations, why and when does that happen, you realize, wow, there's a lot of benefit in it in certain times. And actually, it's for the benefit of the women. It's for the benefit of the women. Sounds crazy, but I don't have 30 minutes to explain the topic of polygamy in Islam right now, so we're not going to talk about it. But it's good to get one wife. That's the real reality. But you had to learn from your mistakes in Dawah, okay? Now, another aspect of Dawah. One time I was talking to one of my friends, and the brother told me, we were just talking about the importance of Dawah, okay? And this brother says to me, he says, man, Dawah's not really for me. I said, why not? He says, I've pushed so many of my friends away from me by trying to talk to them about Islam, right? And I understand where he's coming from, because if you're not doing Dawah the right way, right? Sometimes you can get people like offended, or you can kind of push the wrong buttons. One important principle of Dawah is this, okay? If you ever feel that the person is not comfortable, or if the vibe is not good, and everything is weird, and it's not good vibes, but it's kind of like, it's just not working out, whatever it is, fall back. No one to fall back in Dawah, okay? There's a time and a place. If the conversation is good, it's vibing, the person is liking it, they're enjoying it, they're getting benefit, you keep doing the Dawah. But if you ever sense that this person is not comfortable with this Dawah, you back off, you say, hey, you're a good guy, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. You know, nice to meet you, my name's Samir, whatever it is. And you take it easy, you move on. Or it could even be your friends, or it could be your family members, people that you're going to see them all the time, but you feel like maybe they're not really vibing with this, I'm putting pressure on people, they're not enjoying this. Good. Or whatever the case may be, learn to when to fall back on people, okay? Now, let's think of some other examples real quick. Okay, another Dawah technique is this. I'm just going to give you one example. Sometimes we talk about Islam in a general way because other people around you are being nosy and they're listening to your Dawah. I'm going to give you one example. One time I was with one of my Muslim friends, and I'm just talking to him about some general Islamic stuff that was really cool. And I knew there was a couple non-Muslims around us, and I knew that they're overhearing us. I'm telling you, my technique worked. Why? Because at the after about 5 minutes or so, we had one of the brothers, he came and he rolled up on me, and he was like, yo, like, this conversation's cool. He got himself in the conversation. Before you know it, this guy's learning about Islam. Sometimes you're on a bus. Sometimes you're in class. Sometimes you're here. Sometimes you're there. And you're just talking about Islam with one of your boys or one of your buddies, or even you're giving Dawah to somebody else, but there's other people around you. You're saying some slick stuff that you know that they can relate to. It brings them in. It brings them in a comfortable way. So that's indirect Dawah. Sometimes we do that, then we're indirectly talking about the message of Islam, and other people are getting attracted to it. Okay, one technique of Dawah. Okay. Another technique of Dawah is teaching them cool things about Islam that they can relate to by their fitrah, by their natural nature, without actually you inviting them. So, for example, one of my neighbors, I'll give you an example, right? She brought up to me, the subject of vegetarianism, right? She's becoming a vegetarian and stuff like that. And Islamically, we know that's not right. It's not right to be a vegetarian. And Islam preaches actually that we should be vegetarian sometimes, meaning that have meals that don't have any meat. But you should still eat meat once in a while because it's good for your health, it's good for you, and it's enjoyable, right? But some people, they have different ideas, right? So they go into extremes, they go to vegetarianism, something like that. So I started explaining the Islamic perspective of why you should not be vegetarian and why it's better to have some meat. And this lady is like, wow, like basically Islam is like a wise religion, more or less, right? I didn't invite her to Islam. I didn't say, yo, you got to take the Shahada right here on the spot. But I just told her a little about Islam, and that itself brings her a step closer to loving Islam. And then one day, if Allah wills, she's going to get involved in learning more about Islam, and she may become a Muslim. But sometimes that's all that we do. We just give them a little one step that they take, and then they get a little bit closer, and you're not even invited to Islam, but you're still giving Dawah. That's another way to give Dawah, okay? Now, I'm going through the list quickly, guys, okay? Now, okay, here's another thing, which is very important. Your Dawah is not a statistic. You don't want to look at it in your head like, I've been giving Dawah for 5 years, and I got 5 people to take Shahada, or 20 people, or 100 people. You don't want to look like that. Allah says in the Quran, actually, in many places, when He keeps talking about the prophets, that the prophets, every time they preach the message, some of the people would accept, some of them would reject. But one of the techniques that they would have in Dawah, they would tell the person, they said, look, I'm not asking for you to give me a load of treasure or money or wealth. Or basically what they're saying is, in our lingo that we can understand, I'm not even asking for you to give me $1, homie. I don't even want $1 from you. I'm just giving you this message of Islam because it's for your own benefit. So the point is basically this. What reason do I have to lie to you right now? If I'm saying to you, yo, come be a Muslim so you can buy my, program that's going to change your life for the small price of $89.99. Then you have a reason to be like, yo, this dude is kind of sketchy. But the point is, I'm giving you this dawah. I just dropped an hour worth of my time on you, and I'm preaching this message to you. And what do I get out of it? Other than the fact that you're going to get saved from the fire, you're going to make it to the Jannah, to the eternal paradise. I don't even want $1. So what it shows is this, right? That your job as a Muslim is not to worry if they convert or not. Allah says that it's not your job to get the people to become Muslim. It's only your job to just try to share the message. That's all you got to do. And whether they convert or not, it's in Allah's hands. So just do your part. And once you do that, and you don't care if they become Muslim or not, and you don't convert them, but you just, from the goodness of your heart, you just sincerely try to share this message for their own benefit, you'll see your dawah has great blessing in it, has great barakah, and it's going to be successful. Okay? Okay? Real quick, here's another one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Nahl, which is like chapter number 16 of the Quran, right? He says, invite people to the way of your Lord. Invite them to the path of your Lord, right? With wisdom and with beautiful preaching. With wisdom and beautiful preaching. And argue with them, debate with them in a way that is beautiful, in a way that is good, in a way that is like ahsan, right? In a way that is good, right? This verse is beautiful. Why? Because Allah is basically saying, right? You got to be clever. You got to be clever in your dawah. You got to know the situation. You got to find a way to convey this message in a nice way, in a beautiful way, and you got to do it in a good way. And the one example that I'm going to give to you is this, right? Okay? I forget the examples. I got a lot of stuff to cover, okay? But I already gave you lots of examples. Okay, I'm going to give you one example, okay? One time I met George Mason. This is a clever way to bring up the Islam. Clever way, right? And in a way that uses wisdom and beautiful preaching because you're connecting with them in a way that they can relate. So I was standing in Mason in a long line of Panera Bread because Mason, they built the Chipotle in the campus later on. But the point is that, but back then the best thing they had was Panera for a while, right? So, and I'm not a huge fan of Panera anyway, but sometimes their turkey sandwiches be kind of low-key on the ciabatta bread with the Swiss cheese. Okay, just so y'all know, in case y'all are interested. Okay, but anyways, look. So I was standing in line for Panera, and I know that this line will take me 10, 15 minutes. So, ding, 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 opportunity for dawah time. Okay? So basically this, the dude I was standing next to, he had a sweatshirt on that says Brown. That stands for Brown University, which is an Ivy League university. And I'm like, bruh, in my head, I'm like, bruh, this dude got a brown sweatshirt on, but he's at George Mason. Something's funny about this. This might be my opportunity for dawah. So anyways, this is what I said to the brother. I said, that's a cool sweatshirt. I said, did you go to Brown University or something? Or someone in your family did? He says, no, actually, nobody in my family went to Brown University, but actually our last name is Brown. So I just thought it was cool to buy the sweatshirt that got my last name on it. Then I asked him, blah, 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 small talk. And then long story short, this is how I brought up the dawah. This is how you're you're looking for that chance, being clever, using wisdom, and preaching beautifully. I found that he's like an environmental science major. And I said, well, tell me about this global warming stuff. This dude basically, long story short, tells me that the climate is like horrible and the humans are messing up the environment and blah, 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 blah. Now he just gave me a great opportunity to drop a nice little hadith on him. So then basically the hadith that I dropped on him was this. I said, did you know that Prophet Muhammad actually said that before the end of the world comes, that human beings are going to be destroying the planet? Boom. Now this dude was like, damn, like that's real. Like those are like dope bars. But the point is, if you didn't have the knowledge of hadith or Quran, you would have never got to that point, right? But the point is what?
How much longer?
Give me 5 minutes. And I'm done, inshallah. Alright? Alright. So look, check this out, okay? Now, okay, so hear me out. You guys ready? Last 5 minutes. Focus, okay? And I'm gonna be done. And inshallah, I'm gonna finish off with this, okay? Very shortly, alright? So check this out. So, but point blank, I mentioned that hadith about the Akhir Zaman. Then, this is where the wisdom and the cleverness comes in. I'm gonna assume that this brother's probably Christian. Not rocket science to figure out most like he's Christian, a white American guy, right? So the point is this. Then I just mentioned, I said, did you know that Prophet Muhammad also said that when the end of the world is near, that Prophet Jesus was going to return? Boom, dropped it, right? And then this brother was just asking me questions about Islam left and right, and we had a nice 10-minute conversation about Islam. And at the end, I just said, yo, nice to meet you, I'm Samir, blah, blah, blah. But that brother now in his heart loves Islam more than he did 15 minutes before that. Because now he knows that, wow, Islam is real. Basically, right? So you saw how I was waiting for the opportunity. I was being clever. I tried to think, how can this guy relate to me? Boom. Became a great opportunity for dawah. So I'm teaching y'all dope stuff right now. If you guys are interested in dawah, okay? Another quick point, real quick. learn from people who have been successful in dawah. The strategies I'm giving y'all, this is dope stuff, bro. This is dope stuff I'm sharing with y'all, right? And then on YouTube, there are scholars that specialize in teaching people how to give good dawah. Kamal Al-Mekki, Sudanese, dude is amazing. Love the guy. He's actually really funny too. He has a bunch of funny lectures too. Kamal Al-Mekki, he has a lot of great dawah videos on YouTube. Dr. Zakir Naik, the Indian dude, amazing lectures and will teach you how to give great dawah to Christians. Sheikh Ahmed Didat, great at dawah. Another guy, his name is Hamza Zortis, who's a convert. Dude gives some pretty good dawah workshops. So learn from the people who teach how to give successful dawah. You'll become better at dawah like that. Okay? So learn from people who are skilled in what they do. Now, okay. Now I'm almost done now. Then okay. Understand this. With everything that I told you, guys. Last 2 points. Okay. Listen. With everything that I already told you, okay. There's also another important point, which is this: that Allah, He says over and over in the Quran that you cannot guide who you want to guide, but Allah, He chooses the one He guides. He chooses, right? And in another one, right? Allah, when He wishes good for that person, He will open up their chest, He'll open up their heart to the deen of Islam, right? So sometimes even if you're in sin, sometimes even if you're not pure from sins, sometimes even if you're not that knowledgeable, sometimes even you're not skilled in dawah and you're not the best speaker, sometimes Allah just wants to bring a person to Islam and you're going to be the lucky person who's going to get that reward. I'll give you 2 examples. There was one scholar, he gave both of his examples. He was an imam for many years and he was a great lecturer, and some of his lectures are on YouTube. I'm not going to mention his name, but this guy himself gave 2 good examples. He said that from my time of being an imam, he said, I had one guy who came up to me who was a convert of Islam. And he said, Imam, do you want to know the way that I came to Islam? He said, I was smoking weed with some Arab guy in a park late at night one time. And this guy just told me whatever he knew about Islam. And it affected me so much that later on in life I became Muslim. And he told the Imam, he says, can you imagine that dude, because of what he said when we were just basically being wild and stupid, right? He says, he doesn't even know probably that his few words of Islam towards me ended up getting me to then become a Muslim later on in life. And I don't even know where that guy is, but I'm a Muslim because of him. I'm a Muslim because of him. SubhanAllah. It goes to show that even in the worst and most sinful position that you could possibly be in, even in those moments, a person can become guided to Islam. Another example, a guy came to the same Imam, another dude. He was a convert to Islam. And the Imam, he said, how did you come to Islam? He says, you'll never believe the way that I came to Islam. He said, what? He says, I used to go to Howard University, right? And when I was in Howard University, there was this one dude who used to give out free Qurans. And he didn't even hardly say nothing to me about Islam. He just said, this is the Muslim holy book. We believe in Jesus too. You want to check it out? Here's a free Quran. Take it or leave it. And the guy said, okay, fine, I'll take it. The guy said that I went on the metro bus because I was leaving campus. I went on the metro bus to go home. I just said, let's read this book, see what it starts. He started off, I read the Fatiha, and he said, it sounded a lot to me like the Lord's Prayer that we have in Christianity. It sounded very similar. So I went to the next chapter, which is Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2. He said, the first thing that I read in this book is that this is the book whereof there is no doubt. This is the book whereof ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is the book wherein there is no doubt, from the Rabb of al-Alameen, basically, right? And he said, instantly I realized that I have read so many books in my life, and I never had one book that started off by saying, Alif, Lam, Mim, this is the book whereof there is no doubt. And he said, I understood this must be a book from God. And by the time I finished reading, the Quran, I was already a Muslim. He said, I was reading it and I hadn't even taken Shahada. I already knew I was a Muslim because I knew that this had to come from a divine source, a divine power. So it goes to show the beauty of Al-Islam. Even the guy just read one ayah of Baqarah and he became a Muslim, bro. Now, the last point that I want to make for tonight, okay, is sometimes the best dawah that we can give is to our Muslim brothers and sisters who are struggling. And this is the one last story that I'm going to end with. And then after the story, we're going to go into those trivia questions, okay? So you guys can make a few bucks or some free money, basically. But check this out, okay? So when I was at Mason, I met this one brother who was in my class. He was from Saudi. He was from Saudi Arabia, right? And so hold on, they're like growing up in the most Muslim society. They know the deen very well. But sometimes they come to America, the temptations of the Western culture, it gets them, right? Whatever. And the brother himself, I remember he told me a few things about himself that I learned. One thing, I knew he was like, smoking and stuff like that, right? Number two, he had a girlfriend, he was committing zina, right? And so, in the nicest way that I could, I tried to just kind of explained to this brother, like, look, brother, you from Saudi, bro. He told me one time he was from Ahl Bayt, which is, he's from the lineage, the family of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's from the Ahl Bayt, which is a huge deal. And I said, brother, I said, you're from the lineage of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I said, you're from Saudi, you speak Arabic, you have so much Quran that you know. I said, bro, I said, don't get deceived by this dunya, bro. I said, you got a girlfriend? I said, just either marry her or just go get yourself a wife instead. You don't need to be committing zina. I said, you better than that, bro. I said, you don't need to be smoking. You don't need to be blazing, man. I said, you're better than that. And this brother, he was taking that advice and he was like, yeah, you know, we were just talking. I was just real with him. And for like 2 semesters, one semester he was in my class, the other semester he wasn't in my class, but I used to always see him praying Salah in the lounge in the Johnson Center at GMU where the people would be praying, right? And we used to just always make small talk. And bro, one day, I wasn't super close to them, but you know, we were finally every time. When this brother left, Mason, I didn't see him for a while. And after like about a year, I got a random text message on my phone. And you know what the text message on my phone said? He says, brother Samir, this is me. He gave his name. I'm not going to say his name because we're not supposed to reveal our brother's shortcomings in Islam. He says, brother, I just want to let you know, I've had so much time to think about the words that you've said to me over the last year or so at George Mason, right? Over our time at Mason. He said, and I just want to thank you because even though I'm not perfect and even though I've committed so many sins, I'm appreciative that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought a brother like you in my life because it's helped me to realize the sins and the shortcomings of what I've been doing, and it's made me want to turn my life back to Allah and live a good righteous life again. And he says, the reason I'm texting you is because I'm leaving back to Saudi and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in contact with you so much, but before I leave, I wanted to send you this text message. Because you were just doing your part to just help out your Muslim brothers. You were just doing your part to help out your Muslim brothers, man. So anyways, that's it. These are just some of the things you can do to be more successful in Dawah. I mentioned to you these stories because I think it helps to kind of sort of explain the reality of what you do. And just remember, sometimes the best Dawah, like I said, just posting a link on your social media page. Sometimes the best Dawah is to just smile at a person and just be honest with them and just be real with them. And then they know that your name is Ibrahim or they know that your name is Muhammad or whatever it is, and that becomes an act of Dawah. Dawah itself is a lifestyle. It's not just cut and dry, black and white. You have to open up your mind. You have to open up your eyes. Now, yeah, okay. So check it out. I'm done. I'm gonna give leave it for right now. I'm gonna just give a quick recap of everything I talked about, stuff in such great detail. Just a bullet list. These are the requirements for successful Dawah, real quick, guys. Okay. You have to have knowledge. You have to be pure from sins. This is going to help you on the trivia question, so you better pay attention, all right? You have to have knowledge of your deen. If you don't, you're not going to be successful. You got to be pure and righteous and clean from sins. Okay, you got to live a righteous life to the best that you can. Allah knows you're going to make mistakes, but you got to try. You got to love people sincerely. You got to have a big heart. Don't be judging people because they're not Muslim, or don't be judging Muslims because they're sinning. Don't judge people. Love them sincerely, okay? Having blessing, having barakah, okay, is going to come from your intentions sometimes. From your intentions, okay? Having good intentions and having the intention of Dawah. Having patience and having endurance. Not giving up, not quitting, not feeling bad if you ever fail or you get rejected. Keep striving. Every day is different. Every person is different. If you failed with 10 people, you might be successful in the 11th person, okay? The amount of effort that you give. Islam, if it's number one in your life and in your heart, your effort is going to be better and you're going to be more successful. Your truthfulness, your realness. How real are you being? If you're being real in your deen, Islam, whatever you do between you and Allah, then Allah will make you more successful in your dawah as well, okay? Knowing your best role. You got to know what your strengths are. Help people in the best way that you yourself can, okay? Having sincerity and having swag, okay? Seizing the opportunity when it comes, okay? Being a proper Muslim by your actions, by your character, being a role model example, the way Prophet Muhammad was the example of the Quran. If you embody the values of Islam, it will rub off on people, your dawah will be successful, okay? Having the best presentation of yourself as you possibly can. Trying to look your best, trying to speak your best, smell your best. These things will help you in your dawah, okay? Learning from your mistakes, growing from your failures. Learn from the experiences you had and then try to improve your dawah in the future, okay? Sometimes it's good to take notes, write notes, keep a journal. Sometimes keep a journal of the mistakes you make in your deen, the sins that you make, review those notes, and then try to become better every day, okay? Having a journal is also a good way to be good in your deen as well as in dawah, okay? Knowing when to fall back, knowing when to stop in dawah. If it's not working, the person's not comfortable, stop. You don't want to make people uncomfortable. You want to make people comfortable. You want them to like Islam. You don't want them to become, like bothered by it. All right. Do your best to just share one beautiful thing of Islam at a time. It's not about always getting a person to become a Muslim on the spot. You just want to kind of give them something which will bring them closer to the deen, that will make them to love the deen more, okay? Sometimes just talking about Islam is the best dawah. You don't have to invite Islam, just talking about Islam, okay? Not worrying about your success rate, just worrying about the best effort that you can possibly give, knowing that Allah is accepting your dawah, okay? Being clever, looking for an opportunity the right way at the right time, using wisdom, and trying to preach in a good way, in a way that's going to benefit the people, okay? Understanding that people do not become Muslim in one day, but they grow in stages, they grow over time. So your goal is to just help them to get one step closer to the deen, not to jump and climb the whole mountain in one day, all right? Learn from the techniques of the people who are already successful at dawah, and just remember that every single moment, every single day, it becomes a moment for dawah. That's it, done, all right? Now, you can shut it down. All right, now...
So if you like this video, and if you're real, then you can go ahead and share this video and this link on your social media pages, Twitter, your Instagram story, Snapchat story, Facebook, whatever you do. But if you're not real, then it's all good, because this message doesn't apply to you anyway, and you're just gonna have to deal with the reality of living with yourself, knowing that you're not really as real as you previously thought that you were. So anyways, I hope that you guys like this video. Subscribe to the channel. I got a lot of great videos coming up in the future, inshallah. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.